Record started. And with that, let me introduce Tom Andersen, who's running for state representative for House District 19. Tom?
Thank you very much, Bernie. I'm Tom Andersen. I am a two-term Salem City Councilor, and I'm now running for House District 19 as a Democrat, of course. I grew up in a progressive Presbyterian minister's household in Chicago. My dad was active in the 60s in racial, social, economic, and peace justice issues. And our dinner conversation was about how are we going to make the world a better place? And that's what I've tried to do with my own family. My two sons both speak fluent Spanish because I wanted them to know that the world did not all look like their upper middle class white daddy. Both of them use Spanish every day. One's a lawyer, a public defender. The other is a doctor in a nonprofit clinic at the coast, serving Spanish speakers who work in the fishing industry and the dairy industry. So I also tried to do that at in my neighborhood group. I was chair of the Scan neighborhood group for 2 terms. I was the land use planner, and I did a whole lot there. And I've tried to do that and the city council. Here are some of the things I've done. I have been very active in housing in 2 ways. One is affordable housing. We have provided many, many incentives to developers to build affordable housing. Usually it's tax breaks. In return, they agree to build a certain percentage of their housing as affordable. We just did one on the north campus of the old state hospital where almost 1 in 5 units will be built and rented as affordable housing. Then I've done much with the homeless. We need to care for our homeless with compassion, but also with practicality. And what we have done is provide monitored campgrounds. We have a low barrier navigation center, and we have had drug and alcohol treatment and counseling out there and mental illness with the folks who are homeless. I've done much on climate change. I started I passed and introduced and passed the single-use plastic bag ban. I introduced and passed the Salem Climate Action Plan. I set the goals in conjunction with 350.org, and I sat on that committee, and we came up with, I think, 183 things that Salem can do to combat the crisis that we are all in for our Earth. And it's really not our Earth. The crisis is for the human beings who live on Earth. The Earth is going to be fine no matter what happens. It's our children and grandchildren we need to worry about. I also did much in the area of racial and social and economic equality. I insisted that our climate action be looked at through a diversity and equity lens. I passed resolutions condemning institutional racism and white supremacy. I spoke at many George Floyd Black Lives Rally Matter protests, starting out by saying, I am a privileged white male. I have no idea what people of color see in our country every single day. I think that I've been an effective city councilor, and the next step is up in the legislature. In the legislature, I will have greater assets and resources to serve all of Oregon. I have 3 alliterative platforms that I'm interested in, plus a 4th one. First one is environment. We've already talked about that. Climate action. You're looking at somebody who's ridden his bicycle to every council meeting since 2014, and the only car we have is an all-electric car. So I really think we need to fight climate action right on, head on, and do what we can, because it's getting too late. We're in a time of great crisis, but we are also in a time of great opportunity if we work together. Second one is education, and there are really 2 types of education. The first one is climate education, which we already talked about. There's too many folks who like the fossil fuel industry, and that's what's being educated in our communities, our school communities. The second one is civic education, which those of us who are old enough know that at one point it was called social studies. We need to understand how our government really functions. a certain person who used to have some power in our country, one of his phrases was, "I love the poorly educated." Well, of course, he and his ilk love the poorly educated because they're more easily fooled in that situation. We need to educate people. The final part about education is we need to really support and expand our teacher salaries, our the measure that was the CAT tax, which was passed to affect education, and it hasn't been rolled out. We need to continue to put money into education for the just general education, but also for the civics and the climate action that I talked about. Infrastructure, there are two types of infrastructure. The first type is social infrastructure. And under that rubric comes two things, affordable housing and care for the homeless. And we have done many, many things in Salem to incentivize affordable housing and to care for our homeless neighbors in a compassionate yet practical way. And that also involves, I'm sorry, I'm trying to get this phone, it's potential spam. All my phone calls are potential spam, probably from a Republican candidate. So, we have to treat our homeless in a compassionate yet effective way, and that includes drug treatment, and mental illness care. So that's social infrastructure, housing, and homelessness. Then there's physical infrastructure. We need to improve what we have. We don't need to expand. Those of you who have been around during my tenure in the council know that I was a fierce advocate against the expensive, environmentally unsound, and ineffective third bridge. We do not need to encourage the use of single occupancy vehicles. Instead, we need to talk about mobility. We need to talk about mass transit. We need to talk about alternative modes of transportation. So that is the infrastructure that I believe we should support, and the state can do that. The final thing is, as a lawyer, I am extremely disturbed by the Dobbs decision, which I have called on my Facebook page frightening, dystopian, and evil. And it is every one of those things. The only person who should be able to make a decision concerning a woman's health care and reproductive rights choices is the woman in consultation with her loved ones and her doctor. We should not have the legislature or the courts interfering with this personal choice that belongs to a woman. And I know that my opponent is pro-life, whatever that means, at least pro-life till the baby is born, because I pinned him down at a Chamber of Commerce forum, and what he said was that he is pro-life, and I am fully in support of a woman's right to choose, and we should make sure that our legislature will do everything to continue that. And in order to do that, we need a Democrat, in the House, a Democratic House of Representatives. I am very interested in serving and protecting all Oregonians. Our society is better when we hear from everyone in our society, not just the privileged few. And I pledge that, as I was as a city councilor, I will listen to all points of view. I will make a decision based on my own ethical and moral code and beliefs, but I will look at the facts that are here on the ground, and that's what I will discuss, and that's how I will make my decision. And I'm at 9 minutes and 4 seconds, and I'm done.
And you get applause for that.
Yeah.
Well, the other speakers, the other audience members are probably wondering, where's his passion? I mean, the guy, he's got to get more excited, doesn't he? No, I think he's just doing great. No,
You're mute. Can't hear you.
Oh, and it was so profound too. It was really good.
Yeah.
No, I just wanted to say thank you for that. I really appreciate your passion. We've talked to a lot of candidates, and we're hearing a lot of what people think they might want to do, but I think your literal experience on the city council and in your history helps kind of set a path out for for people like me that are voters that are going, what might Tom do for me in my House district? So that experience makes such a huge difference. And so your passion is well directed in my mind. So I'm happy with that. And yes, you were right at the 10 minutes. So I appreciate that. Let's open it up for some questions for Tom. I've got a couple, but I'll wait until we get some others, so I'm not bogarting. Aileen, are you out there?
Oh, oh, good, thanks, because I couldn't find the hand thing, so.
So what's your land use question, Aileen?
Listen, Christine Lewis had a baby today. She named him McCall.
Oh, cool, cool.
Oh, anyway, yes, I do have a land use question. There is going to be a huge push in the coming session to build housing developments on farmland, to supersite big, huge, water guzzling, horrible buildings for Intel on farmland. What are you gonna do?
Well, they'll have to push me over to do that. And speaking of the pushes, one of the many reasons I was against the third bridge, set aside, you know, its environmental effect and its expense and everything else. What it would do is would have created a donut hole inside the urban growth boundary. And that donut hole is prime farmland in North Salem. And eventually that would have had to become part of the urban growth boundary. And then we'd have a bunch of McMansions off Wallace Road all the way up to where it comes in. So I think that the land use planning action way back act of the state of Oregon is extremely good. It set up a very good framework to work. And I know that as a city councilor, you know, we have to have certain percentages, certain acreage set aside, and we are within that. And what we are really, we have enough single family units available. We are now working at the council on multiple and higher density units. We need more land for that. I'm really opposed to expanding the urban growth boundary from any city. We need, our farmland is one of our major cultural and economic benefits that we have in this state. And we shouldn't sell out our right for a mess of porridge, to use a phrase my father would use, my father, the minister, would use. From Omaha, and you know that.
That's right. Thank you very much.
You're muted again.
I have a question.
Oh, yeah, I was going to you, Lee. Sorry.
Cassia had a question, I think.
I do. As you've no doubt been paying attention to the news lately, there's been a huge problem with the public defense services. And the legislature is going to have to do something about that. There are lots of potential solutions out there to those. But one of the things I'd like to know from you is, of the various solutions that are out there, as in figure out some way to train and hire more lawyers who are interested in public defense work, for example, maybe increase the rate of pay for public defense lawyers. That might be a good idea. That might entice a few young people to come into the field. Maybe some more public defense corporation style things. I mean, there's a variety of different options. So, you know, just have you given any thought to that so far?
I certainly have, and I have judges listening to this, because that's the question you're going to get in your time, sure, from Judge Quillen, for whom I appeared in administrative law judge hearings for many years. When I said that at another place, she said yes, and she was always telling me to sit down and shut up, unsuccessfully, as you can see.
Right.
I have my older son is a lawyer. His entire career has been as a public defender, Jackson, Marion County, and now federal public defense. So I understand the problems that the defense bar faces And, our system, our constitutional system and judicial system, the way it's set up, it only works if there are two attorneys on either, this is both civil or criminal, but I'm talking criminal now. Two
Yeah.
attorneys on either side who are zealously representing their clients and their within the ethical boundary of the law, and all that heat produces some light at the top for a neutral third party, a judge or jury, to make a decision on something. And if you have equal resources on either side, you're not going to have an equal system. I am in favor of increasing the salaries of public defenders. I think that this is just crucial. I know the we've had in the system lately, and it's interesting that what Attorney General Rosenblum, who went to law school with it, and she made a decision, but it's kind of avoiding, to me, the real issue of we need to have equal resources on both sides if our system is going to work. So that's something that I would be very interested in the legislature, and I've already said I would like to sit on the judiciary committees.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I think that's a really important thing, and I would really suggest that you look into trying to figure out some method. As you know, when we were working together, we had professional organizations that were constantly doing training, constant,
Yeah.
and there, as far as I know, there is not such a thing on a regular basis for training lawyers who are interested in that particular field.
Yeah.
So,
All right.
no.
Great.
Yeah.
Thanks. Good question. Thank you.
Yeah.
Lee?
Tom, we're happy to see you in Salem as a long-standing stalwart progressive, and we wish in Silverton and our city council we had the progressives of your quality serving for a long time. This is a kind of a three-part question. As you know, you all in the Salem City Council passed a resolution supporting universal health care, essentially, and it was a unanimous yes vote on that, and that was wonderful, and thank you for that. And you also know that the Task Force for Universal Health Care that's been going for nearly 3 years now is going to come back to the legislature now with a proposal to legislation to create the leadership group that will actually move us to a single payer system. My question would be, would you be supporting that? But the other part of the question is, Trevor Phillips mentioned the idea of, though you did the universal healthcare resolution, maybe the city council should jump in on measure 111 to encourage the voters to vote for measure 111 that actually would amend the Oregon Constitution to call healthcare a fundamental right. So that's kind of a two-part question. And thanks again for your work.
Thank you very much. Well, my first answer is you ought to convince Kara Kaiser that she should run for the Silverton Council. She was a fantastic city councilor and she's moved to Silverton. Second part is universal health care, single payer. Of course, I'm for this. Health care is two things. It's one of the biggest cost drivers of inflation, especially with drugs, but also just with healthcare and with insurance companies. And I'll tell you, having worked for an insurance company as a trial lawyer for many years, they're not in business to provide healthcare insurance. Their business is to make money, and they do that not by accepting claims and paying claims. They do it by denying claims. So I'm in favor of some kind of universal healthcare system. And I'm really open to a lot of ideas. Of course, one idea that I'm interested in is just, and I think Bernie Sanders might have said this, you move down Medicare for all. So at 65, then it's 60, then it's 55, et cetera. And that gives a chance for the system to transition. Second one is amending the Oregon Constitution to say healthcare is a right for all. I'm very much in favor of that. Shoot, was there a third part to your question? Okay. Next.
This is just my question, and it's not fully formed, so sorry for the sloppiness of the question here, but
Hey, my answers aren't fully formed either.
well, that's true. Good point. We have homelessness that's obviously an issue all around the country. We have law enforcement trying to figure out how to deal with that. You had some experience with that in city council, but now if at the house, at the state house, you'd have a lot more of a position to act on that. What are your kind of just general thoughts on how do we address, crime, homelessness, law enforcement? And, I personally still think we need to have strong law enforcement. It needs to be there. We need to know that we are safe. We don't want to give up our general safety. So what are your just kind of high level thoughts about that?
Well, I certainly agree with you, Bernie. Every single person in Salem and in the state of Oregon needs to feel safe in their environment, both in their home environment and their public environment. And so from that perspective, one of the ways we deal with that is to take care of our homelessness situation and our housing situation. The problem on a macro level, well, it is a national problem that is metastasized down here at the local level. And my rather simplified view of it is the problem is all the wealth is at the top of our society, especially in housing. And it pushes down, pushes down, pushes down, pushes down, and squeezes out unfortunate people at the bottom. And we need to deal with that by incentivizing affordable housing, by taking care of the homeless, especially in terms of mental health and addiction care. I don't at all think the police need to be defunded. I think the police perform a valuable role in our society of keeping people safe and concerned. I do believe, though, that some of the things that police generally do need to be looked at. I'm thinking of community policing. I'm thinking of I'll just say racial and diversity and equity issues that face police departments. But we need police to help us be safe in our homes and in our streets.
Okay. I need to let you give us your closing statement, but I see a message from Bill Dalton, sorry. Let me just read it. Hi, Tom. Our legislature seems to be mirroring much of the partisanship we are seeing nationally. What are some of the ways you see yourself as working towards increased bipartisanship in our state legislature? Can you give us kind of a crisp answer to that?
Well, in fact, thanks, Bill. It's just a question that really segues into my closing argument.
Okay.
Oh, so I'm talking like a lawyer, Judge, into my closing statement. Yeah, so I'll deal with it then, okay? That's okay with you, Bill?
Okay. Okay, there you go. Let's go right into your closing statement, and you got 5 minutes. Go.
Okay. I have been a trial lawyer for 45 years. And my legal skills and abilities are very helpful in governmental affairs. The first thing is I know how to get people to answer questions they don't want to answer. That's called cross-examination. And that's very helpful in situations with governmental agencies, because sometimes they might like to try to hide the ball. The second thing is I know how to get into an issue, get to the salient facts, and come out. If I were in front of Judge Johnson, he could say, you got 10 minutes to talk to this witness. So I'm not going to mess around. The third thing is that I do not take things personally. I do not make enemies out of my adversaries. I do not make ad hominem or ideological attacks. I don't demonize the other side, and I'm able to work across the aisle. I did it in the council, which is, nonpartisan, but we all pretty much know who we are. And I was able to get many things passed that we got support of everybody. In politics and in trial work, you either have a settlement or a compromise, and the best settlement trial compromise politics is where each side is a bit unhappy with the final result, but each side can live with it because it's moving the matter forward. I'll give you another example. Well, here's an example. The Chamber of Commerce, my first go around, ran somebody against me at the council. I won. Then I set up meetings with the president of the Chamber of Council, who happened to be Jim Bauer at that time, and we met 4 or 5 times a year just for intellectual discussions partisan, just here's the issue, here's how you feel, here's how I feel, here's how we might be able to move forward. And my next election, they didn't run anybody against me. And Jim Bauer, the former president of the Chamber of Commerce, endorsed me. I will also say in my legal career, I'm on the defense side of the bar. The lawyers on the other side of me for 40 plus years have been what are known as the Oregon trial lawyers. And they represent workers and folks who get injured. And so I'm on the opposite side of the bar with me, and they have endorsed me because of the same reasons I'm talking about. I look at the issues, I don't look at the personalities. So I think, although I can certainly be firm and I know what my positions are with respect to major issues, but I also am able to meet with the other side, to discuss things with them, and to arrive at some compromise which can move the state and the city forward. What I want to do is try to make the state of Oregon a better place, and I want to serve all Oregonians, even folks who didn't vote for me, because we're all one, we're all part of this system, and I look forward for your support. And I will tell you that my website is all one word, Elect Tom Andersen, spelled the right way, S-E-N. And you can go there. There's a place to volunteer. There's a place to donate. And I hope to see you all out on the streets when I'm out knocking on people's doors. And in fact, that's what I'm going to do. I may stay a little bit to hear the judge, but here comes the judge. But then I'm gonna go out and try to do something. So thank you very much, Democrats. I appreciate the work you've done, and Marion Democrats are terrific. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.